Hello lovely people, it's Nicola back in the Stitches and Slapdashery sewing room again. Oh, it's Thursday, April 3rd. We have 10 days to go before we go back to the island of our birth for my mum's funeral. And there's a few things we still have to do. And in the meantime, I am trying to keep my sanity by either working or making stuff. Today is a day off. It's a beautiful sunny day, but I want to rest my foot. I'm still getting the plantar fasciitis issues. So I think I'm just going to try and avoid going for a walk today, even though I'll probably need the exercise. I did do 3 hours of housework this morning, so it's not like I've just been sitting on my butt all day. Honest. First order of the day was to have a conversation with my sister and the Reverend who is leading the service later on this month. He was at her house and they sat down at her kitchen table and they included me in a video call so that we could all talk about decisions that needed to be made for the order of service, like what music we were having, how we were going to deal with it. My sister and I have done the same thing that we did for my dad's funeral back in 2012, where we are going to be doing a joint eulogy and hoping we can keep it together long enough to do that. We actually did very well at my dad's funeral. We quite enjoyed it actually because we made it amusing. He had left lots of notes and instructions for how he wanted his funeral to go, which was very helpful. And we just riffed off that, basically. So we had it all written out with what each of us was going to say. So we're doing the same thing this time for my mum. So hopefully that'll work out. We've picked the music and made plans for what's going to happen afterwards and where we're going to go and have some snacks and some drinks. Yeah, just a few more decisions to make. So after that phone call, I decided I needed to blitz my living room. I have had a to-do list on my fridge for the whole of March of things I was going to spring clean, and I had not done any of them. So today I blitzed the dining room living area. It's all one room really. And it is now dust-free, or as dust-free as it's going to get. Oh, I just thought of one bit I missed. I didn't do the ceiling fan. All of those blades on the ceiling fan are probably just waiting to throw dust everywhere once I switch it on next time. Never mind. Won't worry about that right now. And I vacuumed and I even moved the dining room table so I was able to do where the legs normally stand so that there's nothing lurking, and pulled the sofas out and did under there. Gave the plants a bit of a trim. I don't know about you, but I have a lot of Tradescantias because they're so easy to grow and you can take millions of cuttings and they all grow really well. But sometimes they look a bit stringy and the leaves start to look brown in places. So I gave those a little bit of a trim, a little bit of haircut, and moved things around a bit just to make them look fresh for spring. And it feels so much nicer in there now. Wow, it must be windy outside. I'm in a basement bedroom here. This is my sewing room, a basement bedroom. It has a half window that looks straight out onto my front lawn. And I just noticed that the rhododendron outside was blowing around like crazy. You really wanted to know that, didn't you? So yeah, that was a really satisfying housework spree. And while I was doing it, I put on YouTube music. I put on a playlist by Josh Groban, whose music I absolutely love, and his voice moves me so deeply. But I haven't listened to any of his stuff lately, and I was just like, I need to do that. And I just felt like I was close to tears the whole time because of him and his voice, and because of my mum, of course. So it was good. I had been feeling quite overwhelmed yesterday. I think I was just tired and a bit stressed out, and yeah, I needed to have a bit of a cry because it made me feel a lot better. So one of the things I made last week was a tote bag, which didn't have a pattern or any instructions. We basically just made them to the measurements required by the charity we're donating them to. But my friend and I made ourselves one at the same time. And I will have shown you this already. And I'll show you why I'm showing it off again in a minute. So I did add this little key fobby thing to the handle of this bag. It's a little plain on the outside. I know it's a lovely wild wacky lime green, but it was a little plain, and so I added this on here so I can add keys to it or whatever, and it can hang on the inside or the outside. And yeah, it will hold my keys so they don't go down to the bottom of the bag and get lost. It's just a remnant of vinyl that I had from way back when I was working at Fabricland. And I lined it with one of my newer quilt cottons that I had invested in quite recently. I had a meter chunk of it. I mean, you need a big chunk of it for a bag this size. And I had put the, magnetic snaps in, snap, and pockets on both sides. And I just thought, wouldn't it be great to have a matching handbag or crossbody bag? They're always called crossbody bags now, aren't they? People don't do shoulder bags, and I know why. Because if you have a shoulder bag, it just slides off your shoulder all the time, and it's a pain in the arse to use. Let's be frank. So I remembered that I had printed out the templates for a Sunshine Crossbody bag a really long time ago. So I had to dig around in the shelving that's right behind you there. And I found the templates, and I had to look up the pattern again because the instructions weren't in what I printed out, of course. The Sunshine Crossbody bag is by Bagstock Designs, and it's free. I highly recommend you go and get the pattern and try it out because it is really, really good. So I have used the green vinyl, same as the big bag, and the same quilting cotton as I used for the lining, and I have made this bag. I just love it so much. I ended up using just the silver zipper, not the rainbow zipper. So it's just got the plain silver teeth, and I used black pulls. I could have used silver pulls, but I've been using the silver pulls more often than not lately, and I thought I've got to kind of alternate, otherwise I'll run out of one and have too many of the other. So this is a really easy bag. It's got this cool angled look to it, but it's very, very simple to put together. The instructions are perfectly fine. And also, if you want to make it, I recommend that you go and watch Okla Roots' video about it. Jess at Okla Roots makes a lot of bags. She has permission from designers, various designers, to make their bags on video. Obviously, if it's a paid pattern, she doesn't give away the measurements or anything like that, but she'll show you how she made it. And she is a very capable bag maker. And so I watched her video all the way through, and then I went back to the written instructions, which, you know, then made more sense because I'd already seen it. I'm a very visual person. I do like to see on a video rather than read on a page in words. I mean, it works. It works the other way, but it's easier if you've seen the video, I think. And so it's got a front pocket, which I used a different fabric than this for the lining because I didn't have enough of this by the time I had made the tote. So it's just got a really ordinary sort of green linen look fabric, which I bought at the same time as this one in that big haul a few weeks back. It's got a zipper. Let's see, how did we make it? We made it by hiding the ends of the zipper into the fabric at the top so it doesn't go into your seam here. So I really like that. And the other side has a tab, and then that means that the zipper doesn't go into the seams at the end at all, so you get nice edges or corners. There's two ways of doing the connectors. You can add them in on the sides here, or you can put them in at the top. Now I was thinking that if they go in at the top, then they might make the zipper insertion a little bit bulky and annoying. So I ended up just putting them on the sides. And I used 1-inch hardware. They suggest 3/4 of an inch hardware, but I didn't have everything I needed for that. I only had the 1 inch. Unfortunately, when I had bought a whole bunch of silver hardware from Amazon a while back, the sliders, so I got 1-inch sliders, and I got 1-inch D-rings and 1-inch swivel hooks. But you may be able to tell there that the swivel hook is definitely not as thick of a metal as the D-ring, and that really annoys me. But I did not have chunkier ones, and so I used them. This isn't going to be holding a huge amount of weight, so the lighter weight swivel hook should be fine. The back of it just looks like this, similar to the front, but without the pocket in. And then inside, I've got that linen look lining. And then there's a zipper pocket in here. And the really cool feature of this bag, you turn the bag through the pocket lining. So the last little seam you do is right inside the bottom of the pocket, where it's barely visible at all. And that is awesome, because if anyone was just to look inside the bag and the pocket's closed, they're never going to figure out how you did it. And the instructions include a little bit of a good tweak for the lining, in that the seam allowance for the lining is a little bit bigger than the outer, and so the lining is just a teeny bit smaller and fits in there beautifully. So you can make this bag with foam in it, but I don't have foam. I do have fusible fleece, and I was going to put some in, and in the end I decided not to. So I did not interface the vinyl. It's not a really thick one, but it's not really floppy either. So I didn't interface this. I did use a heavy interfacing fused onto the back of these cottons. And I used a medium weight interfacing. It's like a Pellon SF101, but probably a store brand one. And I used that on the lining. Did I use it on the lining? I can't remember now. Good grief, Nicola. I think I did. Used it on the lining and the pocket linings. And I want to make another one now. I want to make one using some cork, because I have a cork remnant tucked away somewhere. My friend made one with cork and it's beautiful. So I want to try that. Yeah, watching Jess's video on Ochre Roots was really useful. She does recommend that if you don't want to get pulling in the seams on vinyl, so you know, and see the stitches, that you do a secondary line of stitching in the seam allowances, just a little bit away from the first seam, and that does seem to help. It looks very neat. And even my top stitching came out pretty well. There was a teeny tiny hiccup when it was approaching this little bulky bit here, but on the whole it was great. My top stitching on here is, if I may say so, pretty awesome. Awesome. And that was good, because that was quite slippery vinyl, but it worked out. So I'm very happy with this, and it matches my tote bag perfectly. Really like it. One thing I think I would like about having top D-rings is that you wouldn't get this weird thing happening on the sides where it's sort of pulling it off to the side, if you know what I mean. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I should make a cork one and then put the D-rings on the top, and then just see how I like it. But yeah, that's done. Apart from that, there has not been a huge amount of crafty stuff happening so far this week. As usual, my sewing room is an absolute disaster because I was sewing that bag. So there's fabric and everything all over the place. And so what I'm going to do, seeing as I did my domestic stuff this morning, I am going to have a tidy around in here and then pull out that cork and see what fabrics I've got that coordinate with it. Can you see it? Can you see it? It's done. I made a second Sunshine Crossbody bag. I had this cork in the stash for a really long time. And I've never sewn with cork before. One of my boxed bottoms is absolutely perfectly shaped and beautiful. The other one's a little bit odd and lumpy. But we're going to forget about that and just admire the piggy fabric and the cork. It was a piece from Fabricland again that had a hole in it that I ended up bringing home for cheap. And this only used a tiny amount of it. What's nice is if you've got an accent fabric that you want to have either over here or in the middle, really, you're not using a lot of it. And if you've got something precious, you know, you could just put it on the edges and it just uses a small amount because that's all you're using of it. I love this piggy fabric. I didn't know what I was going to use when I mentioned it earlier, but I took down the quilting boxes that I've got up on the top of my cubbies there, and I started with the blue-green box and the blue box, and I instantly came across this fabric, and I had enough of it left to do the panels for this with a little bit left over, so I'm going to be able to use it for something else. The lining fabric I am using is this brown linen look, which is the same line of fabrics as the green linen look in the other bag. So we've got all of that in there. And then the same inside that pocket. I used the black pulls again and the silver toothed zipper. And what's nice about this is that I was using the continuous zipper tape, and I really, really, really am sold on that stuff now. You just cut what you need. It's just amazingly convenient. So you can buy a 10-yard roll of it from Amazon or wherever you want, really. And it's just so convenient. You don't have to waste any. Like before, I was buying packs of number 3 zippers from Amazon. Yeah. But I would buy maybe 14-inch or 20-inch ones just so that they'd be long enough to use on pretty much anything. And I was cutting off and wasting a lot. So you buy something like this, and it's just, you cut it a little bit longer than you need it, because you have to be careful not to leave yourself too short. And then you just trim a teeny bit off when you're tidying up the ends inside the bag. I liked working with this cork. It was actually a lot easier than I thought it would be. It's pretty thin. I don't think the Fabricland cork is the best quality out there. I had customers telling me that when I was working there, so I have to assume they're correct because I've never used any other kind. But it's just like almost like a thin vinyl to use, really. So the things I did differently with this bag, I used a medium weight fusible on the cork and the outer fabric and the lining and the pocket linings. And then I added in some fusible fleece to the outers. After this is all constructed and you've put this together and this together, you then add either foam or something like that. And I used fusible fleece. I have to say the fusible fleece did not fuse very well, and I did have to add a little bit of 505 basting spray just to get the thing to stay in place. Once you've done that, you do a second line of top stitching down here, and that holds the fusible fleece in place. And I cut it smaller. They suggested that you can cut it 3/8 of an inch smaller all round, so it's not actually in the seams, and I think that's a good idea, so you haven't got the bulk. But I did have to encourage it to stick down while I was working with it. Again, my top stitch is not immaculate, but I'm happy with it. There's only a little bit of a glitch right there where it hit a bit of a lump. But on the whole, I'm pretty impressed. I just used black webbing, and this time I used the connectors on the top. So instead of having the connectors sticking out the sides, I put them in, as they suggested you can in the pattern. I put them on the top. Now, the designer says to put them on the front. You baste them on the front before putting your zipper in. And I thought that might make the bag lean back as you're wearing it, which might be a bit weird. So I basted mine. I basted mine on the back, and I was a bit concerned that it was going to feel really bulky sewing the zippers, like lumpy. Sewing the zipper in here with these extra bits, but it's just quilt cotton. Even though there's a little bit of fusible in there, it's not bulky, and it's doubling up right next to the zipper tab there, but it's fine. I barely noticed that there was the extra thickness when I was sewing that zipper on, so I'm pleased about that. Actually, it's not a quick bag to make. Whilst it is simple, if you take it step by step, it can seem a little bit intimidating when you look at all the instructions and all the pieces, and you're like, oh, even me, I've made hundreds and hundreds of bags, and I still got a bit intimidated when I saw all the pieces and what I had to cut out and all the prep you do. There are so many things you have to do before you get to the sewing. Sometimes it feels like there's more cutting and ironing and faffing about than there is actually sewing in these things. Which is probably true, actually. I think there might be. But it's worth it. It's a good sized bag. About 10 inches by about 8 inches tall. So yeah, that could hold quite a bit. Good size for carrying the essentials. I'm thinking that maybe I really don't need 2 of these bags, and I made the lime green one for me, but maybe I could raffle this off or something. Offer it out to my friends and see if anyone's willing to pay me for it. I don't know if I can bear to get rid of it now. I don't know if I can bear to get rid of it. I love it so much. I wouldn't be surprised if I make more of these. My love for bag making is returning now that I'm doing it for fun again and not for the market. The joy is back. I'm sure you know what that's like. Well, I'm going to add to this, I think, over the next couple of days. So it's not going to be a talk for an hour and turn off the camera, edit it, and throw it up on the internet. It's going to be a talk today, talk tomorrow, probably talk a bit on Saturday, because there's something else I had in mind to do. And my son brought me home a slab of tabletop the other day, and it was too big. So my other son, one of my other sons, I have 3. So the youngest son brought me home this wood because I had said I wanted to make myself an ironing pad that I could move onto this table and have right next to my sewing machine when I am working here. So I don't have to have the ironing board set up over there for small things. And I do have this ironing pad, which is just fabric and like a silvery stuff. It's a commercial one, and sometimes I put that there, but when I'm using steam, it gets wet underneath, and this vinyl coating I put on my table here gets really damp. And I thought, no, I don't like that. So if I have a slab of wood and then I cover that in something waterproof, then I can add some layers of batting and Insol Bright and flannelette or canvas or something. So I've got it all piled up over there. And maybe tomorrow I'll tackle that job. I'm going to have to ask my husband if he's got a staple gun. I like the idea of playing with a staple gun. So that'll be coming up in a bit if you're still with me. I have no idea if you can see me right now or whether I'm in the frame, but I have my back camera pointing towards me, so I can't see my screen to see if I'm in the shot. But I am about to use a staple gun for the first time in my life. This is a very, very sturdy slab. It was a tabletop that was too big, and so I have cut it in half, or should I say one of the boys cut it in half. My plan is to wrap it in stuff. My sewing room floor is really messy right now. It needs vacuuming, but it didn't seem much point vacuuming it before I did this, so please excuse the threads. So the plan is to use this black vinyl-y stuff so that there's a waterproofing layer and the Insol fleece or Insol Bright. I can never remember which is which, but this is one of them. Has the silvery stuff for the heat reflection. And then I've got some batting, which is really old, and I don't know how long I've had it, but I did a burn test on it and I'm pretty sure it's 100% cotton. I hope so. And then I haven't actually decided whether I'm going to finish it up with flannelette, which I have here. I have quite a big piece of white flannelette. And I also have this, which is a very light canvas in this nice unbleached look to it. Yeah. So that's that decision I need to make. So Mr. Stitches shot a test staple, but he put one into the top and one into the bottom. I didn't really want either, so I think I'm going to have to find something to lever those out. I managed to lever out the staples I didn't want. Now I'm going to have to be really careful because there's a couple of metal pieces in here which I'm going to have to avoid. I don't want to kill myself. So let's see. Cross fingers I don't hurt myself with this. I don't think I need to cover the whole back of this, so let's just grab some scissors and trim this. I'm not sure how many staples I have in here either. I probably shouldn't point it at my face, should I? Yeah. Mr. Stitches said I might have to ask him to go hunt for more staples. How about I just try one in here? I'm kind of scared of this. Oh, look at that, it worked. This is really, really dense stuff. He did warn me the staples probably won't go all the way in, and that one didn't, but it may be okay. Okay, so far so good. I'm going to try and minimize my use of staples so that hopefully I'll have enough. I suppose I want the silver to be facing upwards. to reflect the heat away from the wood. Really, it's just the topmost layer that needs to be the largest piece, doesn't it? Yes, I'm going to have to remember those metal bits. That could be disastrous if I end up stapling into there. Okay, that's 2 layers on. I suppose I don't need to have it super padded, do I? As long as it works. All right, let's get the next layer down. I'm just trying to remember how long it's been since I worked at Fabricland. It was the summer before last that I left. So it's about 18 months ago that I left there. And I'm still using up a lot of the things that I brought home from working there. Now there's a hole there. I have to try and avoid that bit. Might not be a problem. So I'm going to cut this strip off so I get rid of the hole. And then along here. Now I'll make sure I'm not going into an existing area where there's a staple. Wow. That batting is very fragile. When I'm tugging on it ever so slightly, it's tearing. Metal. Let's go in here. Oh, it's nice and smooth at the moment. So yeah, let's see. What do I want to be my top layer? Rather ironically, this looks like it needs ironing, but I don't really see the point of ironing it before I put it on what's going to be an ironing board. I think I'm going to use this fabric here because I don't really have a use for it in anything else, whereas I'm more likely to want the flannelette for something. So let's use that. lucky that I have pieces that are big enough for this job. So this is most definitely not a tutorial. I don't want you to copy my idea necessarily. I just wanted to record how I made it for your entertainment. I have not looked up any tutorials or advice on how to do this. Just hope it works out. Probably don't need to put my other hand on top of there because it's going in easily, but I'm just thinking if both of my hands are above the stapling area, it's safer, right? Now we're at the dangerous areas here, so let's just be extra careful there. Okay, this is going to be the bulky folding part. Obviously I don't want it to be rocky when I'm ironing on it. I don't want too much bulk underneath one bit and not the other. Let's try this. That looks kind of weird. Alright, let's just try folding it like this. Oh, maybe that's the way to do it. Okay. So maybe like this. And then I could just tuck that in like that. Okay, there's a staple under there, so I'll have to avoid that part. Oh, look at that. It covers it right up. That's quite nice. Yeah, that should look fine once it's been ironed on. Well, I only need maybe a couple more staples and I will be finished. So luckily I didn't need to get any more. Oh, I ran out. Darn it! I ran out with just a couple to go. Oh, I think that's going to be nice. As long as it sits flat. It's pretty bulky on the corners. It doesn't really matter as long as all the corners match, right? Okay, let's go see if I can find some more staples. Mr. Stitches came through with some more staples. Yeehaw. Now I've completely lost track of where those 2 bolts were that were in the wood. So wish me luck, guys. Woohoo! It's done. That is really heavy. Feels lovely though. I just realised that I forgot to put my ring light on, so hopefully you were able to see what I was doing. And oh my god, I just broke my zipper jig. This is real life, guys. I just went to put this on the table and it snapped my zipper jig. Luckily, my son printed me 2 because I've just gone and ruined this one. Well, damn. Oh well. Okay, where's my iron? Here we are. Oh, that feels so nice. So there's my ironing board. Obviously, I do have a regular ironing board, but I don't know about you, but I really, really dislike regular ironing boards because they wobble like crazy. So I can have my machine set up right next to there. I can just lean over it while I'm still sitting down and just press things and then bring them back to the machine. Perfect. Well, peeps, how did you like my amateurish efforts at making an ironing surface for my sewing table? Yeah, it's heavy, but then I probably won't have to move it too often, I hope. So today is what day? Friday. It's been a very socializing day today. I got up early. I originally set my alarm for 7 because I was expecting people to come at 10:30, but I woke up at 10 to 6 and I thought I might as well get up because I wanted to bake a cake. So I did. I baked a sponge cake and horror of horrors, I used a white flour. I don't often make things with all white flour, and put strawberry jam in the middle of it. So it's what we would have called back in the day a Victoria sponge or Victoria sandwich cake. And I sifted a teeny bit of icing sugar on the top just to make it look pretty. Very good. So in the end, only one friend came at 10:30 and she stayed for a long time because we hadn't seen each other for a really long time. So we needed to catch up. And she was showing me what she's working on. Beautiful. She makes beautiful art. And she's made a lovely piece of artwork that looks like kelp with fish swimming through it. And she was adding beads to it today. And it was lovely. And she and I had 2 pieces of cake and a lot of coffee and tea. And then another friend came at around 2. And I was going to be lending her my market tent that I used for the farmers market last year. So after the first friend left, I showed the second friend how to set up the market tent in my backyard. And then she stayed for a cup of tea and a slice of cake. I did not have a third piece of cake, I'll promise you. She had some cake and a banana because she was starving, hadn't had lunch. But yeah, more tea, Vicar. And after she left, all the family were home and it was time to make dough for pizza and all that sort of thing. So it's been a lovely day. I do still have to make sure to go out for a walk, and that'll be after I've done this little bit of recording. So I did the ironing board thing because I was excited to get that done. And I thought, while I'm here, I would show you the shawl so you can see what the progress is on that. This is the Granny Wrap by Annaboo's House, and I am crocheting it in Lion Brand Heartland. Love those colours. And they are all stash colours. I didn't buy any extra yarn for this, and what I'm hoping is that I have enough of the Lion Brand Heartland to make it pretty massive. So this is my mindless crochet project, the one I just needed to do that was simple and I didn't need to think too hard about it, and it was comforting and easy. And you know, how much easier can you get than granny stitch, right? It's so easy. You're just increasing at each end, and then obviously I'm working on this edge. All of these tails are the beginnings and ends of my rows. So this is the way I'm working. You start with a teeny tiny bit down here and then it just gets bigger and bigger. So you're just increasing at each end, and then you're just doing a corner right there with the two chains in between, two clusters for the corner. It's so simple and the colours are beautiful. And even though I know I'm going to have a billion tails to weave in, I still wanted to change colour every row because I think that's the way it looks best. That way, colours seem to meld better, I think, that way, rather than having big chunks or stripes of colour. But really, I don't think there's a colour in there that doesn't go nicely with the rest of them. The red stands out quite beautifully. I can't tell if you can see this well. Yeah, I'm loving it. Of course, it feels like it's growing really slowly now, but that's because the rows are getting longer and longer, and so it is growing slower. Duh. Plus, there were a few days this week when I didn't pick it up and work on it, so that's probably why. That's probably why. So as for books, I've got quite the haul of stuff from the library right now. I've got these two piles here. Last week, I was in the middle of this one, or I had got about a quarter of the way in. Finished this. It's Peter Robinson, Wednesday's Child, and I quite enjoyed this one. Again, I think a good sign of enjoying an author is wanting to read more of their books. And I probably wouldn't go out of my way to read more of him. But yeah, it was quite a good book. So I'm going to add that to my pile of returns over there. And another one I've been working on this week. I'm about halfway through it, but I do have to confess I haven't been reading every word. I have skimmed a little bit. But this is a good book. Haggitude, it's called. And it's by Sharon Blackie, and it's called Reimagining the Second Half of Life. So you can probably guess what it's about. It's all about women and how we can come into our own during our menopausal years. Go us, right? So that's a good read. Definitely glad I got that one out. I am a few pages into this one. It's another Jodi Picoult, and I saw two Jodi Picoult books at the library. Where's the other one? Here. So even though I've got a bunch of things on hold, and actually I had one come in today as well, so I've got tons of reading, and I am going away on holiday in 9 days' time. Not sure about this. I got these 2 books out because I just saw them on the shelf. So I've started this one. It's called Lone Wolf. And yeah, I'm hardly any way into that one now, so I can't give you an opinion on that one yet because I'm not into it enough yet. Got some other interesting things that I picked up recently. Okay, this one is called Love Your DNA. No, Move Your DNA. Oh, the library does like to put their stickers over the top of the titles, doesn't it? So this is a Katie Bowman. She's the one who's all about nutritious movement and keeping active, and she's not talking about exercise. She's just talking about moving in your everyday life and just keeping flexible and moving and all that good stuff into your older years. And yeah, I really need to read more of that because I've only looked at a little bit of it. She has a lot of books though, and I have seen a lot of her other books, and I think there's a lot of overlap between the books, so I may have already read some of it before. This is a good one too. It is by Rhea Ewing, and it's called A Comic About Gender. Fine. It is, what do they call this? A graphic artists type of book where it's written like a comic strip. And it's all about gender. And it's about the author's life story, I guess you'd call it, and about how they felt when they were young and how they talked to so many people because they felt like they needed to identify how they felt about how they felt. If that makes sense. And it's fascinating. So they asked all sorts of people, how do you identify? And so this is the result of all those interviews that they did. Very cool. Working on that one. I also found this one the other day. It's called Green Buddhism. Haven't even cracked that one open yet. It's by Stephanie Kaza, Kaza, Practice and Compassionate Action in Uncertain Times. I definitely am very much into the tenets of Buddhism, and I think this is going to be a good read. I just hope I have the wherewithal to read all these books I want to read before they have to go back to the library. I'm sure I can renew them if I have to. So yeah, we talked about that one already. I was very fortunate to find 3 very up-to-date uppercase magazines at the library. I love these. And the crazy thing, my artist friend who I saw this morning, she'd never heard of these. And I think they are amazing. So this is a magazine that's put together by one woman in Calgary, I think. It's a Canadian publication, no ads. It's all just fantastically good content. It's inspiring. There's all sorts of contributions from different artists in different areas of art. I'm not sure. I know there's a word for that and it's not coming to me right now. But there's textile artists and people who draw and people who paint, people who work with fabric or mosaics or ceramics. And if you can get hold of this, one day I'm going to treat myself to a subscription for this. It's $96 Canadian for 4 quarterly magazines, so 96 for the year. And I think it's worth it. Not only can you enjoy reading and getting inspiration from the pages, but you could totally use the pages to make art. It's that good. I also found some Quilting Arts magazines this week, which are all beautifully coloured. I have a lot more interest now, I think, in things like this, where people have maybe used their quilting skills to make art rather than just those predictable block by block bed quilts. So I think I'm going to have to try and follow in my artist friend's footsteps and start making more small pieces out of different fabrics, but with lots of embellishments and things like that. Because I think that would be really interesting and exciting and fun to do. Another quilting magazine, Quilter's World, for the love of pre-cuts. I just picked these up on a whim. What's this one? This is the one that came in today at the library. Kristen Hannah, The Women. This one was recommended to me by my friend Jane, who I sewed with last week. It's a thick one. We have books for a month at our local library, and obviously we can renew them if nobody else wants them. But they did actually do away with late fees. However, I did overhear the librarian explaining to a new library card owner not long ago that yes, there are no late fees, but if they are a month overdue, they're assumed to be lost and you'll probably get charged for them. So yeah, it's kind of, there's no late fees, but on the other hand, they're not just going to let you keep the book and let it go. And finally, a couple of quilting books that I found that I hadn't seen before. There's this one, Improv Quilts. It acts like a course. You can work your way through the book and increase your skills as you go. And let's just see. So it helps explain about colour play, which, you know, a lot of people already know. And it starts with a really simple block and quilt, and then it moves on to more improv quilting. It's kind of funny trying to explain to someone how to do improv quilting when you're showing what you made. It's a bit of a catch-22, isn't it? You can show someone what you made and how you made it, but then if they try and copy what you made, then it's not improv anymore, is it? So I suppose you take the inspiration from here and the skills they show you, and then make your own. That's pretty much how I consider cookery recipes. I'll read a recipe and I'll make that. That sounds really good. And then I throw my own spin on it, and I add things or take them away or end up doing it completely differently. But I think it's the inspiration that counts. And if you like the result, then that's what matters, right? And finally, the String Quilts book that I also got. String Quilts by Carolyn Forster. Oh, I didn't tell you who this one was by. Improv Quilts is by Laura Lowen, Loewen. And this one is Carolyn Forster. And I think the String Quilts idea is appealing to me because I have a lot of scraps. Having said I have a lot of scraps, you know what? I actually got to the bottom of my scrap bag in cutting all my little squares and putting them in Ziploc bags recently, except for some strips. There were some width of fabric strips or even shorter ones. And I thought, no, I'm not going to cut those into like 20 little tiny squares. I'll leave them as strips. So I can use those for string quilting, string piecing. And I also have in my boxes above the cubbies there a lot of small pieces of fabric that might work perfectly for string quilting. Let's see one. Let me find one that illustrates it really nicely. So this is one that looks beautiful. Look at that. There's not too much glare on the page there. So they've basically pieced the strings onto a backing and then arranged them in such a way that they look lovely together. They make a secondary pattern. Hang on. Projects are at the back. hold on a minute. This really appeals to me. I love this. This is a selvage edge scrap basket. They have made this basket out of selvages. I used to save selvages, but I haven't lately. But that looks really fun. Well, that's probably enough chatting for now. I do have a plan of something I want to make this weekend. It's a small project, but an important one. And if I don't do it tonight, I will aim to do it tomorrow after my shift. So, yeah, keep watching. There's more. This is the mess I'm making on my sewing table tonight. I've got hand sewing needles, I've got yarn in purples and blue greens and greens, and all these batiks that I pulled out, and these threads. And I cut myself a piece of batting. It was 8.5 by 11. And I started cutting fabric and hand sewing it to the batting. And now I'm couching a little bit of yarn to the side of it. I'm not sure if this is going to come out to be anything I'm interested in keeping. But that's what I've got so far. Yeah. I'm wondering now whether I should have just done this on the machine. I quite like some hand stitching now and again, but not sure if it's coming out how I really wanted it to. So what I was hoping to achieve with this is a project I had in mind. Seeing as we, my sister and I, are dealing with setting up my mum's funeral right now, her more so than I, it's reminded me that it's a good idea to write down your own wishes for when you pop your clogs, you know, kick the bucket, and all those other good metaphors. So I felt like it would be a good idea for Mr. Stitches and I to write down some of our own wishes for when we die. I always get a little bit more aware of my own mortality when I am flying. And what we like to do is we like to leave the boys with all the information they're going to need. If something were to happen to both of us at the same time, they'd need a lot of information so that they could deal with all our affairs and know who to contact and all that sort of thing. But we haven't really written down what we would like to happen at a celebration of life. So I feel like it would be nice to have a notebook. And this was sort of going to be a notebook cover for Mr. Stitches, because I know how much he loves batiks and purples and all that. But I'm having second thoughts about it already. Do you think that would make a good notebook cover? It's nowhere near done, of course. I want to do a lot more couching of yarn. I have some rattly beads. I'm not sure if I have them in the right colours. Maybe I do. I don't know if you can see that. I've got lots of beads in there. So I could attach some beads as well as couching more yarns on there and using all my different colours of thread. I'm still not sure. So I know this video is getting really long. I'm pretty sure that once I'd edited Thursdays and Fridays footage, I was up to an hour, which is plenty long enough. So next time, if I've persevered with this, I'll show it you again and show you anything else I've added to it. Or I might have abandoned it or put it aside, at least temporarily, so I can get other things done. I took the cushion covers off my sofa cushions, the throw pillows, when I was blitzing that room the other day. And I think it would be really nice to have patchwork cushion covers on all 4 of the throw pillows. So I think that would be a really neat way of using up some scraps. So that's another thing I have in mind. Yes, the mind is full. It's amazing I ever get to sleep at night, really. So this is why I like to have my big whiteboard over there, so that I can write things down when I think about them, and that way I don't forget. I can put the thought on the board, and then when I get round to it, work on it there. I found my other zipper jig. I broke one of them yesterday. You will have seen earlier in this video. I think I might try hot gluing the other one. Obviously, I don't have to because I have the second one. But if I can hot glue it, it's just broken down here somewhere. And when you put the zipper pull in here and then thread the continuous zipper tape on it, I don't think there's a lot of pressure on it or anything, a lot of strain. So I'm thinking that hot gluing it might work. So I'm a bit reluctant to throw it away because my son 3D printed it for me. So it's currently Saturday evening. I had a short shift today, back on the floor. Only spent maybe max of 5 minutes on the till today just because it was getting busy. But I cleaned and tidied up 3 aisles of product today and got them all lovely and straight because we've got inventory coming up. It was so satisfying. I really enjoyed it. So I'm going to wind this video up here and say thank you again for watching. I know it's a long one, but I want to get this uploaded and have it up for Sunday. So I'll see you again really soon with something else.